Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to AI Sports Predictor, the one place where we don't bow to the sportsbook, we go to war with it. 5 games, 5 deep dives, and 5 chances to stay ahead of the curve. And you know the deal, today's AI pick stays under lock and key until the very last moment. So, sit back, grab your favorite drink, and let's talk hoops. First up, we got the San Antonio Spurs stepping into the Lions' den to take on the Boston Celtics. Let's get into it. Boston. The land of champions, home to history, and where banners don't collect dust, they multiply. The Celtics, reigning supreme, fresh off dismantling the Knicks and the Heat like a master chef filleting a fine cut of steak. Jason Tatum? Man's playing like he's got a vendetta against every rim in the league. A cool 33 against Miami after a 40-piece at the Garden? That's what MVPs do. But across the court, we got the new-look Spurs. They ain't knocking on the door, they're about to kick it in. De'Aaron Fox? The man didn't walk into San Antonio, he came in riding a hurricane, dropping 30 on the Wizards like it was a morning jog. Pair him with Victor Wembanyama, the basketball version of an unsolvable puzzle, and you got a duo that smells like trouble. Add in Chris Paul orchestrating the offense like a maestro in a room full of rookies, and you start to wonder, is this team about to make a late-season push? Or is this just a remix before the same old song? Numbers don't lie, but they sure as hell tell some interesting stories. San Antonio, 15th in scoring, but barely cracking the top 20 in shooting efficiency. Defensively? Let's just say they've been letting more people in than a nightclub with no bouncer, ranked 23rd in defensive efficiency. Meanwhile, the Celtics? 4th in offensive efficiency, top 5 in defense. Tatum, Brown, when he's on the floor, Porzingis. Derek White, Drew Holiday. This team's got weapons stacked like an arms dealer on a payday. But here's the catch, Boston's been sketchy at home lately. Like a guy who aces a job interview but forgets to show up for work. And San Antonio? They don't have a choice. They're playing like a team with no rent money, desperate to make the postseason. You underestimate desperation, you get burned. And today's AI pick is, Boston Celtics, 8. This ain't just another game, it's a declaration. The Celtics are the champs. And champs don't let mid-tier teams come into their house and act like they belong. Wemby and Fox might flash. But when it's all said and done, Boston's walking away with the bag. 1 down, 4 to go, let's move on to Game 2.
Game 2 Cleveland Cavaliers vs. Toronto Raptors. Let's get into it. Cleveland. 43 wins, 10 losses, and a record that screams, we came here to dominate. The Cavaliers aren't just beating teams, they're pulverizing them. The latest victims. The Timberwolves, who got the full treatment, 51% shooting, 17 made threes, and a defense that turned Minnesota's offense into a bad joke. Evan Mobley. A walking nightmare, dropping 28 points, 10 boards, and moving like a 7-foot assassin in a suit. But let's talk numbers, because Cleveland stats read like a team that might just be making the finals. 2nd in the league in scoring, top 3 in assists, nearly 40% from deep thighs is an offense that flows like fine whiskey. And defensively, they're top 10 in points allowed, forcing turnovers like a team that enjoys watching their opponents suffer. And then there's Toronto. A team with 16 wins and 37 losses, sitting in the NBA basement wondering how they got here. Their last game. A brutal 9-4 8-7 loss to the Houston Rockets, a team not exactly known for playing defense. Shot 36% from the field, bricked 34 threes, turned the ball over just enough to remind everyone why they're 25th in the league in points allowed. But don't get it twisted. The Raptors ain't completely toothless. Emmanuel quickly is putting in work, Scotty Barnes still has that fire, and they're top 10 in assists, meaning they're at least moving the ball, just not always to the right place. But when you're up against a team like Cleveland, trying hard doesn't mean a damn thing if you can't put the ball in the hoop. And today's AI pick is Cleveland Cavaliers 13.5. This ain't a game, this is a message. Cleveland's got bigger plans than just showing up. They're looking at that number 1 seed, they're looking at the playoffs, and the Raptors. They're just in the way. Expect a blowout. Expect dominance. Expect Toronto to be looking at the scoreboard, wondering when the pain stops. 2 down, 3 to go. On to Game 3.
Game 3 Atlanta Hawks vs. New York Knicks. Madison Square Garden. The lights are bright, the stakes are high, and the Hawks are coming in hungry. Let's get into it. The Knicks. 34-18, a squad that's built like a brick wall, tough, physical, methodical. But last game, they got sent back to the drawing board. A 131-104 loss to Boston, and it wasn't just a bad night, it was a reality check. They shot 42% from the field, got outworked on the glass, and watched the Celtics rain 19 threes on their heads. Jalen Brunson. He showed up 36 points, 5 assists with the rest of the squad. They might as well have stayed on the bus. Now here comes Atlanta. Sitting at 26-28, fighting to get above 0.5, but don't let that record fool you. This team is better than the standings say. Just beat Orlando 112-106, shooting nearly 50% from the field, hitting 85% from the line, and forcing 18 turnovers. That's what they do: pressure, push the pace, and get teams out of their rhythm. And let's talk about the numbers. The Hawks, 9th in the league in scoring, 2nd in assists. They don't just rely on iso ball, they move it, they spread the floor, and they keep defenses guessing. Sure, they've had issues on the defensive end, 26th in the league in points allowed, but the Knicks aren't exactly an offensive juggernaut. They rely on efficiency and control, not explosion. And the spread, 7.5, is just too high. The Knicks play slow, grind it out, and rarely blow teams out by double digits. Meanwhile, the Hawks, they've got the firepower to keep this close. Trae Young didn't even have his best night against the Magic, and they still won. If he gets rolling, if DeJounte Murray steps up, if Atlanta's ball movement stays sharp, this isn't just a cover, it's an upset waiting to happen. And today's AI pick is Atlanta Hawks 7.5. The Knicks are good, but they're not invincible. The Hawks are coming in with confidence, and they match up well. Don't be surprised if this one goes down to the wire. 3 down, 2 to go. On to Game 4.
Game 4. Detroit Pistons versus Chicago Bulls. Two teams, two different directions. One trying to claw their way into playoff contention. The other barely keeping their head above water. Let's get into it. Detroit, 27-26, not exactly a powerhouse. But they're moving in the right direction. Just took care of business against the Hornets, 112-102, shooting 48.9% from the field, dominating the boards, and dropping 31 assists like a team that actually knows how to move the ball. Tobias Harris? The veteran presence, 20 points on 69% shooting, making sure the young guys stay locked in. But here's what really matters. The Pistons are gritty. They rebound well, they force turnovers, and they've got just enough firepower to stay dangerous. This team might not scare you on paper, but they play with an edge. Then there's Chicago, a team that started this season with hope, but is now drowning at 22-31. Just got smoked by Golden State, 132-111, letting the Warriors splash 19 threes on their head. Couldn't defend, couldn't rebound, couldn't keep up. Kobe White dropped 27, but when you're giving up 120.3 points per game, second worst in the league, you're fighting an uphill battle every single night. And let's talk about the matchup. The Bulls? They're 29th in the league in rebounding and 29th in assists allowed. That's a recipe for disaster against a Pistons squad that crashes the glass and shares the rock. Detroit's not flashy, but they do the dirty work. And against a Chicago defense that lets opponents shoot 47.2% from the field, expect them to find plenty of easy buckets. And today's AI pick is Detroit Pistons, 4.5. This ain't about who's got more talent, it's about who's got more fight. And right now, the Pistons got that dog in them. Chicago? They're just trying to survive. Detroit rolls into the United Center, takes care of business, and walks out with the cover. 4 down, 1 to go. On to Game 5.
Game 5. Los Angeles Lakers vs Utah Jazz. Two teams, two completely different realities. One squad gearing up for a playoff run. The other just trying to survive. But we don't care about the storylines, we care about the numbers. Let's get into it. The Lakers, 32-19, coming off a 132-113 demolition of this very same Utah squad. Shot 54% from the field, 15 made threes, 94% from the free throw line, complete dominance. LeBron, 24 points, 8 assists, 7 boards, and barely broke a sweat in 29 minutes. And here's the kicker. They forced 19 turnovers. That's what separates real contenders from the bottom feeders. When they smell blood, they don't just win, they take everything. Now, Utah, sitting at 12-40, and let's be real, this team is in freefall. Defensively, they're giving up 119.4 points per game, 28th in the league. They let LA shoot 54% last game, they turn the ball over 17.5 times per game, dead last in the NBA. This team isn't just bad, they're actively making life easier for opponents. But here's the real problem for Utah. The Lakers have too many ways to beat you. You take away LeBron, Anthony Davis is there to feast in the paint. Limit AD, D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves start heating up. Meanwhile, the Jazz, they're completely outmatched at every level. They're 6th in the NBA in rebounding, sure, but what does that mean when you're down 20 by halftime? And today's AI pick is Los Angeles Lakers minus 7.5. This isn't just about talent, it's about momentum. The Lakers already ran this team off the floor once, and they're gonna do it again. Expect a repeat of last game, fast pace, efficient shooting, and LA controlling every second of it. Jazz might hang for a bit, but when the Lakers shift gears, it's over. Now, let's recap all 5 AI picks. Game 1. Boston Celtics minus 8. The champs remind the Spurs who runs the East. Game 2. Cleveland Cavaliers minus 13.5. Too much firepower, not enough resistance from Toronto. Game 3. Atlanta Hawks plus 7.5. Hawks keep it close in the Garden. Too many points for New York to cover. Game 4. Detroit Pistons minus 4.5. Detroit grinds out a win against the Bulls team that can't stop anybody. Game 5. Los Angeles Lakers minus 7.5. Too much talent. Too much firepower, too little resistance from Utah. 5 games, 5 picks, and another day of keeping the sportsbook on edge. See you next time.